All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're tackling a huge question for any business that runs on SAP. Is the very core of your system an asset, something that's going to launch you into the future with AI, or is it actually a hidden liability, just waiting to drag you down? And we're kicking things off with what is, no joke, a $100 million question for your company. Is your SAP core really ready for AI? It sounds simple, but trust me, the answer is anything but. So here's what we're going to cover in this explainer. We'll look at the widening gap between systems, we'll figure out if your core is an asset or a liability, lay out the 5 pillars you need for a real transformation, talk about the surprising human bottleneck, and then wrap up with a big reality check. Okay, first up, we've got to make a really important distinction here because there is a massive difference between just running SAP and being truly AI native. And look, don't think this is some far-off problem you can kick down the road. The data is telling us that by 2026, that's right around the corner, this gap is going to be a full-blown crisis for a lot of businesses. The clock is ticking. So that brings us to a pretty tough question we all need to be asking about the heart of our systems. Is it actually helping us, or is it hurting us? I mean, the difference here is just night and day. On one hand, you've got the legacy core. You know the one. It's that tangled mess of custom code and siloed off data. But on the other hand, you have the AI native core. It's clean, it's flexible, and it's built to connect to everything else. And this really gets to the heart of it, right? You just can't slap a coat of AI paint on a crumbling foundation. If your core is a mess of old code, your shiny new AI isn't going to be an asset. It's going to be a massive liability. So what does that liability actually look like in the real world? Well, without that clean architecture, your AI models are basically trying to drink from a fire hose of confusing, messy data. And what's the result? They hallucinate. They start spitting out nonsense. It's the classic garbage in, garbage out problem, but on a massive scale. Okay, so that's the problem. It sounds pretty daunting, right? But how do we actually fix it? Well, the source material gives us a pretty clear roadmap, and it's built on 5 essential pillars. Here they are, the 5 big pillars. It all starts with a clean core. From there, you need smart data orchestration, then a new way of thinking about how processes get executed, followed by seamless interoperability. And holding it all together, human-centric leadership. Let's just quickly break these down. Clean core basically means stop customizing everything and stick to standards. Data orchestration isn't just about having tons of data, it's about understanding what it all means. Now, agentic execution, this one's a huge shift in thinking. It's about moving from people staring at dashboards to AI agents actually doing things. Interoperability means tearing down those data silos for good. And finally, leadership, that's all about focusing on your people and the strategy, not just the tech. You know, that last pillar, the one about leadership, it's actually so important it gets its own section. Because it turns out the biggest roadblock in this entire journey, it's not what you think. And there it is. Seriously, after all that talk about clean cores and APIs, the number one thing holding companies back isn't the software or the hardware. It's the people. It's having the right talent with the right skills. So what does that mean, this talent shift? It's about getting your teams to stop being just coders, buried deep in ABAP custom code. Their new job is to become strategic value orchestrators. They're not just writing code anymore. They're conducting all these powerful new tools to create actual business value. All right, so we've got the framework. We know people are the bottleneck. But let's get real for a second. How are companies actually doing with all this? Well, the data is, let's just say it's pretty sobering. 49%. Just let that number sit there for a moment. What do you think that represents? That's the reality on the ground. Almost half of all companies trying to get AI going are stuck. Totally stuck. They aren't scaling, they're not seeing real results, they're just trapped in this endless pilot phase like a hamster on a wheel, going absolutely nowhere. And you want to know the number one reason why they're stuck? It all comes back to what we just talked about. It's pillar number 1. They never built that solid foundation. They never cleaned their core. And without that, none of their AI projects ever really get off the ground. So that brings us back to you. As you're planning for the next couple of years, as you're looking at your own 2026 roadmap, really think about this. Which one of these 5 pillars, the clean core, the data, the execution, the interoperability, or the leadership, which one is the biggest bottleneck that's standing in your way? Because finding that answer is going to determine everything.